team that can find those necessary kills and to secure their victories later on.
And Elevate, they need to either focus on a strategy to shut down NRG's early game momentum or build it for themselves instead. And it seems that they're going to ban away this Camazotz here, trying to probably focus out adapting.
Some pretty anticipated bans as well. No surprises really, seeing the Scotty following shortly after and the RDO being taken away by NRG. Just overall, these guys that are so dominant in the early stages that have such strong transitional periods are really just easy to take away.
Surprised to see Chronos banned from NRG, knowing that both Emilito and Yaman really prefer this god. It seems that they maybe have done their homework a little bit, not wanting to give it to Elevate. And after that last set, we saw how dominant Variety was on Erlang Shen. The question remains, can Elevate repeat that performance?
And Erlang Shen is kind of just one of those gods, though, that's been a little bit more favored in the solo lane matchup. He's got his 72 transformations that gives him the shell if he opts for the turtle, the Fatalis effect off of the mink. So all of that early phase dominance, and you don't want to have to worry about that, especially not if you're NRG.
Fafnir being locked in for Raffer. Soul, not really too sure if that's going to go for Yaman or Emilito quite yet, but if there's going to be another physical hunter on top of this, NRG's objective control with that coerce from Fafnir should take off.
I'm absolutely loving the Raijin pickup, though, from Elevate, because what better way to complement early pressure from potentially a solo lane or jungle? I just kept in mind that the Erlang Shen could also be headed into the jungle role, but either way, Raijin having that level 2 lane clear is just so imperative if you're trying to establish your dominance in the early set.
We saw a little bit of it last week on the Raijin. Ram not too popular any longer with the addition of Scotty here, just taking off in the popularity. Nemesis, though, was working wonders for Kivo Fred, and I think whatever Kivo Fred does, I think adapting is saying to himself, I could do it better.
I'm certain that these are definitely teams that have been scrimming against each other for quite some time, so whatever we see from Dignitas, we can probably expect to see from NRG and vice versa. But of course, I think that all around the mentality behind the Nemesis pickup is very solid. You've got the Fafnir coerce, and when the Nemesis ultimate is popped off, who shreds better than a Fafnir coerce in your entire team with a soul behind it?
To wrap up the bans, Nox and Kakolin for NRG, whereas Elevate taking away Jingwei, taking away the Osiris. Ho Yi locked here. Still leads me to believe that that will be for Emilito.
I would have to agree with that one. I can't really see the reasoning behind a soul going into the duo lane, although it wouldn't surprise me too much considering that Emilito is one of those guys who loves playing his magical ADC, so it's always a little bit of room for flexibility for NRG. Loving the Hunbat's pickup, though, from Elevate. If there's a way to deter that Nemesis ultimate and the all-in potential coming out from anybody off NRG, it's Hunbat's with that ultimate.
It's all about the defensive options for Elevate to shut down Adapting's aggression. Hunbat's, Sobek, a lot of control. You're going to be relying on Erlang Shen to be the aggressor. But for NRG, last picking the Xing Chen, trying to fight fire with fire, having a lot of control on their side of the board.
But not necessarily a whole lot of control in the laning phase, which is the more important aspect. Maniac is one of those players who loves to play aggressive, but he might not have that same opportunity facing off Xing Chen versus Erlang. You'd kind of just anticipate the Erlang to get the better end of that.
Doing a very early ward rotation is Maniac. As a Guardian in the solo lane, you're very tempted by the enemy team to just get invaded upon. You don't really have the best level 1 to 2 combination, so that's going to be a strategy that Elevate could potentially look for. They're positioning themselves around that right side tier 1 tower, but with the vision from NRG, it's going to be difficult to advance it even further.
And Raffer already placing an aggressive ward into that red buff, just trying to ensure that Dardas and Jermaine are going to be starting off at that buff. It appears as though Raffer could potentially be trying to swing around into this mid lane and get an early gank off onto Death Panther.
Yes, Hand of the Gods. He's just going to be looking for a clean steal walk away. Jermaine left alone 1v2. His support Dardas in the mid lane trying to help out the new Death Panther. Clean red buff invade, and Emilito not even letting Jermaine try to get these back harpies for free.
And that is just so unfortunate. I believe that Emilito was able to secure the big one out of those, but Jermaine able to clean up the side couple of creeps. And with Raffer having the hog, there's absolutely no way for him to contest it, and actually taking out half of his health and already purification beads from Jermaine.
Jermaine trying to secure any sort of farm he can get. He can't get to the wave cleanly without taking any poke, so he's just going to be hoping that this Astral Arrow will clip it, but the hog is good. And now without the purification beads, without the dive bond, level 1 is is going to be a first blood as Jermaine. Is he still trying to get away here? Finally securing for Emilito.
Absolutely nowhere left to go on the map, and that's just so unfortunate for Jermaine. As a hunter, you want to at least try and look for the mini creep so you can hit level 2 off of your left-hand wave, but thinking that Raffer might have potentially already used that hog onto the red buff is the main reason why I believe we saw Jermaine try and contest on his purple.
Would you rather have seen him just go to the wave, ignore purple completely, or just kind of roll the die and hope that he steals the big purple one?
Like I said, I think that he just felt as though Raffer had already expended his hog, and with that in mind, he just knew that the only thing he really had to do was just try and contest that purple buff. If he could contest the purple buff, he might be able to still come out with something. He'll have the timers at the very least on his own buff, so that should help out should NRG look to invade again.
Now sitting at level 3 for NRG's dual lane, Jermaine still at level 1. This is the tactical strategy that a lot of SPL teams will do whenever a hunter falls behind and is left in a 1v2. You don't even clear the wave, you're just looking for the last hits.
That's all that they need to do. They don't need to permit Jermaine to get any sort of farm, still trailing at level 1. Meanwhile, everybody else on the map is hitting 3. This is going to be devastating as a hunter, not hitting level 5 same time as everybody else.
And not only that, Jermaine is playing a ROM, a god that thrives on getting to that mid to late game. He needs that second ability maxed out to get that steroid, to get that attack speed rolling. If he's being denied all this experience and gold, he's in trouble, but in trouble is Maniac. As another return kill, Elevate at least answer back in kind.
And this is the proper response that Elevate kind of just has to take up, knowing that their dual lane is a lost cause. They need to place all of their emphasis onto either the mid lane or the solo lane role, trying to alleviate some of that map pressure so that Jermaine can build up a little bit of farm potential.
Ganking a Guardian before he gets those levels, before they get those items online is a wise decision by Elevate, and without that option for Maniac, the level 5 play, he couldn't really get CC immune during the Fear No Evil, so it was a very clean pick by Cherio and well calculated.
I also think it's pretty interesting. I'll hold that thought. Death Panther taking a stun out from Raffer. Raffer is still trailing behind at level 4, although I expect that to be adjusted. 4-man split at the Fire Elementals. NRG really trying to lock this one down.
Now without the ultimate from Cherio, he needs to be careful. It's actually no numbers forced to run away. He uses the Purification Bead, preventing himself from getting picked up by Maniac's ultimate. Cherio it does have the ultimate here in about 30 seconds or so, so as long as he can continue this pressure without the ultimate from adapting in Maniac, could look to get another pick.
And I don't think that Elevate want to overextend in this lane. They're already fairly concerned. Adapting has used his ultimate, but No Numbers not having his Purification Beads available means that he is susceptible to that slow from Adapting. Invade attempt still being made by Elevate, but the ultimate is going to be coming out from Yaman, and instead it's Cherio trying to run away for his life.
Adapting, missing the slice and dice, but forces the Purification Beads coming out of Cherio regardless. Speed buff will get stripped away here. Is Adapting, actually, I'm not sure if it was stripped away because he has the purple buff. Maybe he just couldn't pick it up.
The buff is appearing as though it's been secured by the Order side, so I would have to assume that that was actually stolen away by Elevate, although Adapting potentially anticipating this ahead of time, just picking up that purple buff, considering that it does provide a little bit of protection shred early.
So now Cherio will get his own speed buff, no problems. Oh, Raffer stealing it away with the Hog. This is a great play. Actually, was the Hog still on cooldown? He just straight up stole it without that relic. Fear No Evil wasn't even used by Cherio. He thought he could just straight up take it away.
Considering that invade attempt that just came through from Elevate, you don't really expect the response that swiftly, and Raffer just staying on top of his game, locking away that speed buff from Cherio. He's going to feel a little bit more on the bots than Adapting on that Nemesis.
Whenever you can have a support take away a buff like that, Adapting can rest easy. We know how Adapting feels whenever his speed buff gets taken away. Now the question is, how salty will Cherio be on his side?
And Cherio won't have to be too concerned. He already used his ultimate, so he's not going to really be playing super aggressive anyway on the Sun bots until later on. He really want to just play around that ultimate. The Fear No Evil is just so massive as far as controlling a team fight.
So we're seeing more of this Hog play from Raffer. He just secured the big Fire Giant Elemental on the right. How many times or how many buffs is Raffer going to have to steal? Hold that thought though, as Maniac is going to pull No Numbers back into Adapting. The ultimate not going to get the heal off. A nice return solo kill after Maniac died earlier on, returning it onto No Numbers.
Maniac was aware that No Numbers beads were still down for just a little bit longer, and without those being available, he's just completely open to that ultimate from the Xing 10. Quite unfortunate early when you think about it, because Erlang Shen is one of those guys that you just really want to apply as much pressure as possible, especially considering the rough start that Jermaine had. Elevate was trying to push a little bit more in that solo lane side, unable to really come up with anything though, and now actually Numbers is going to be falling a little bit behind Maniac. We
saw how aggressive Variety was on the Erlang Shen, and then just how passive the rest of Burrito were, not able to really respond in kind, but NRG are not going to allow No Numbers this time to get any sort of early game momentum, and that's going to allow Maniac now to make these very important early to mid game rotations. And as a Guardian, no matter what you are, Xing Chen or otherwise, you're generally going to be having more control in these team fights than a Warrior, so NRG are going to be looking to push the issue. Especially
as a Xing 10, you're just absorbing damage. That's all that you're looking for every single time. And speaking of looking for things, Elevate, again, wanting this speed buff from Adapting. However, there are 4 members of NRG this time around, so don't think they're going to be as successful, and sure enough, Adapting able to secure his own speed.
There were 2 ultimates down. Maniac just now getting it back, as well as Adapting, so Elevate timing that invade rather well, but too many bodies on the board for Elevate to wanted to overextend a little bit too much there. In the mid lane, Dart is going to get stunned out by Raffer, but going back into the topic of discussion of Raffer's Hog, I wanted to ask you, how many times or how many buffs is he going to have to steal for it to pay off? Because now he's not going to have this Shell, Sprint, Horrific Emblem, even Girdle potentially until level 12.
Well, with all of that in mind, it's already benefited him in the way that he would have wanted it to, putting Jermaine so far behind Emilito. Jermaine has done an excellent job catching up. Also, shout out to Darts for that pluck, burning Adapting speeds. And again, Dart is just really trying to play super aggressive with his Sobek. Nice poke coming out from Cheerio onto Yaman, but the Hammer Stun going to deter any further aggression.
Jermaine, though, it's falling behind earlier on in the game, but he's still relatively safe now, sitting at level 8 compared to Emilito's level 9. There's no stacks quite yet on Emilito, as he hasn't finished off that Devourer Gauntlet.
But the primary difference here between these 2 hunters is Jermaine needs 1,400 gold if he wants to finish off his Devos. Emilito needs 600, and with that in mind, it's going to take Jermaine a couple more waves, and by the time that he has the gold available for his Devos, Emilito might already be pushing more towards the around 30 stacks in his Devourers, depending on when he backs, of course.
The net worth difference is about 400 to 500 gold. Would you want to see Jermaine back early and sell off that Bumba's Mask, trying to finish off the Devourer's Gauntlets?
He might be better off in this circumstance just doing so, because otherwise he might fall too far behind as far as the stacking is concerned, and it could definitely alter the way that these team fights play out, especially when off of the Humbots Fear No Evil, which is what I'm expecting Elevate to really be looking to play around, and you're going to need a lot of early damage as soon as possible, even on a late game hunter like Rob.
Well, opposite of damage is survivability, as Death Panther is probably looking to finish off a Warlock Sash, something that we don't normally see out of such an aggressive mid-mage. Raijin could fire those shots from a distance if he wants to, but trying to secure those Raiju chain lightning effects is not a bad idea either.
It makes sense because he knows that he already has enough damage to clear out the lanes pretty safely. What he wants to avoid is that all-in one-shot from Adapting and Yaman's combination, more importantly, because Nemesis Soul, that is one way to just completely blow up anybody that gets hit by both.
And going for a very aggressive option with more penetration is Adapting, probably going to look to finish off that Brawler speed stack, whereas Cheerio finishing off Hydra's Lament has a 1 level lead, but Adapting just now hitting level 10, so probably about 1.5 for Cheerio. So he's going to get that second relic before Adapting, and I'm expecting to see a very aggressive Blink Hunbats out of Cheerio.
I think that there's really no other way to go in this kind of circumstance. They need that engage from Cheerio. It's not even about playing defensive anymore, because Elevate, sure, they've got some great counter engage, but it's all about Cheerio getting the blink engages to me.
It's all about what he can bring to the table. Nice forcing of the beats yet again. Maniac using his ultimate, which is a shorter cooldown than that of the Purification beats out of No Numbers. Not to mention, Adapting is probably going to be now looking at this as an opportunity to find another pick.
And with Raph Raffer having his hog available, he wants to go ahead and invade this speed buff as well. Cherio already trying to pull it. He's got the rest of his squad by his side, but Death Panther could be in a little bit of danger, taking a decent bit of poke from Yemen.
Stellar Burst on the mark, but with a little bit of help from that tier 2 Warlock Sash, it's not really enough for the rest of NRG to capitalize off of it. Blue buff hasn't respawned for Elevate, but Adapting still sitting on the right-hand side. I think he might be looking for no numbers because that purification is down.
And Cherio is well aware of this as well, so he's trying to keep that in mind, hovering around the solo lane side to provide as much help to no numbers as possible. And Jermaine probably just happy he can secure his own bust right now.
Really surprised to see Emilito use the purification beads there. Now, I know that as a Rama, you get consecutive Astral Arrows off. The slow does stack, but do you expect Emilito was in any danger there?
It wasn't really in danger from Jermaine as much as he was in danger to the potential rotation from the rest of Jermaine's team. Dardas and Death Panther are close enough in that little corridor to really move over fast enough, and Jermaine has plenty of time to buy because of his ultimate.
Items are being completed for both solo laners. We're seeing Genji's Guard complete for no numbers, trying to survive a little longer against Maniac. Breastplate of Valor for the Xing Qian. Not seeing these rotations out of the solo laners quite yet, as they're both level 12. Sprint for no numbers, trying to get more mobility, and the very aggressive Blink for Maniac.
And I love this relic choice by both of these solo laners because they both keep in mind the rest of their team. No numbers wants that sprint because you're against a nemesis, and anytime you're against a nemesis, it doesn't matter who Adapting chooses to go on. If you can just sprint your entire team out of danger, that is the best way to go. Same can be said for Maniac on the Xing 10 with the Blink engage.
We're talking about the level 12 power play potential for Cherio. He has reached it before Adapting, did get the Blink for himself as well. Question remains is, where is he going to go with it? He's walking over a ward from NRG's side, so they're going to be making necessary adjustments here. Nice turtle shell, preventing a lot of damage from that Furious Roar.
It always looks a little bit funny though, just getting caught in place because of the way that Xing 10 works out with that mild root, but it's just one of those fun interactions.
Oh, and another fun interaction for Elevate, but Adapting is going to not use the beads. He took no damage after he used his own shield, and Cherio not on the mark with that Blink Hunbat's ult. Very surprising.
Very surprising, but the worst of all is the fact that Adapting did get away from that one for free. And Adapting actually opting to pick up an Aegis as his secondary relic, so pretty defensive relics all around from NRG. I'm expecting a lot of the aggression to just come off of Raffer.
More surprising than the Aegis for Adapting is that he went into Jotun's Wrath instead of the Brawler Speed Stick. Normally you want to get the flat pen or the bigger spike of it and for a cheaper cost, but it seems that the cooldown reduction is what he's really leaning towards.
Valuing cooldown reduction is the way to go, in my opinion, though, because he's probably going to be playing off of Maniac quite a decent bit. He's already been hanging around that solo lane for a while and made quite a few rotations there. There's been multiple plays onto the speed buff. NRG really wants to try and put as much pressure as possible onto Cherio.
There's no ultimate for Cherio, but there is for Adapting. He's going to force out the disengage. The Supernova coming out. No numbers forced to disengage. Nice stun coming out of Raffer, but the ultimate from Death Panther keeping everyone in bay.
Until Maniac decides to blink in and make his appearance. Ultimate is good, forcing out the beads, but Cherio unable to get away. Adapting cleans that one up nicely. However, his beads were still up, and so he's able to avoid the pluck from Dardas.
Raffer finding a stun onto Death Panther. Stellar Burst doing quite a bit as well. Finally, speed buff being focused on. Nice rotation coming out of Emilito before Jermaine, and that's going to be a nice speed buff secure. They found the pick. They got the objective that they were looking for, and NRG walk away cleanly. It's a slow and steady pace game between these two teams.
Maybe not so slow and steady, though. NRG aren't done quite yet, aggressing onto this Portal Demon, and it's already half health. Yemen is completely shredding away at this with Emilito.
Jermaine made a half rotation, didn't fully commit. Numbers still in NRG's favor. It was a 5-on-3 with the death of Cherio, with the non-rotation from Jermaine. Jermaine looking to get those oracles on the left-hand side. He doesn't have the DPS or the sustain quite yet to finish off this Gold Fury before he finishes off stacking that Devo Gloves, only sitting about 25 or so.
And it's just such a disadvantage for Jermaine either way, trying to make that rotation. Emilito already had the Executioner finished for the Hu Yi, so his damage output is going to be a little bit higher than Jermaine's anyway, providing some more utility to NRG as opposed to Jermaine on Elevate.
Elevate going to start the Gulf here. They have the ultimates that they need. Not too much of aggression here, though. Maniac going in, going to chuck one in. Death Panther trying to zone everybody on the backhand side. Adapting doesn't have the beads to get out of the Fear No Evil, but he gets the shield off in the nick of time.
Except it's not going to be safe quite yet, but Jermaine ultimate just off the mark. Emilito dropping the Suns down onto Death Panther, trying to see if he can secure a kill. Radford not in any danger whatsoever, as No Numbers actually taking quite a lot of his health from Emilito.
Emilito has no fear at all. He was going 1v1 against No Numbers. The rest of his team backed up north, and behind him was Death Panther, just out of range from dropping the Raiju and continuing off with a percussive storm. Emilito feeling very brave.
Unfortunately for Death Panther, his ultimate just wasn't able to deal enough damage to lock down Adapting while that Fear No Evil was ticking. And as soon as he made it out, that shield from Nemesis just completely deters any further pursuit.
Is this because of Warlock's Sash that Death Panther didn't have the damage?
Yes and no, because Warlock's has a decent power spike. The issue is he doesn't even have it at 50 stacks yet. And so when you're lacking this far behind in these big stacking items, it's the same issue that Jermaine was kind of suffering from in that boxing match off against Emilito. You just can't really afford to look for the same sort of damage output as your opposition.
And we could even see a potential Spear of the Magus follow-up here. That could be a nice little power spike play. Once he gets those chain lightning effects off of the Raiju, he's going to be amplifying the rest of the magical damage on Elevate, and Dardes has quite a bit of a punch there with his lurking in the water. Even as a Guardian, that ultimate hurts.
A lot of the pressure has been put onto Dardes, however, to try and make things happen for his team. Cherio's been all over the place with his blink and actually not even opting to look for the ultimate. I don't believe he had it available. He just chose not to go in, except for right now because he was saving it for Adapting so Death Panther could find him on the backside.
Nice damage coming out of Death Panther this time. Respect the Raijin. Not using the Aegis though, surprisingly enough. Adapting thought that he could just double dash away, use that shield, but it seems that he was just CC'd to prevent any sort of heal here. Now Golfier being started by Elevate. Dart is doing a good job plucking Raffer away from the action.
And it's going to be No Numbers going in with a taunt on the Erlong on the backside, but Yemen with a huge ultimate from Soul, able to take out everybody's health, at least Jermaine's and Cherio's.
Death Panther going to zone away a lot of members from NRG. Jermaine not on the mark onto Raffer, but Maniac cleaning up Jermaine for his transgressions. The Gold Fury was reset. Elevate did not secure it after trying to take advantage of Adapting's death.
That is so unlucky for Elevate. That Gold Fury was probably 30% health, just didn't have enough damage to commit. And I can't blame Elevate for dropping that Gold Fury and looking for the fight. That was actually a really solid engagement. Just Yemen coming up huge with that Soul ultimate.
And already Elevate, they need to find a way to slowly climb back into this game. They're not too far behind where they have to force this Gold Fury, but taking advantage of a 5-on-4 and not capitalizing off of this shows that NRG are just such a high caliber team that they could still play with a man down for X amount of seconds and stall it out a little longer.
Here's something that we're used to seeing though, is NRG trying to take advantage of Elevate backing off after a pretty big team fight. And NRG, they want to commit to this. Yemen, he's going all in, and Raffer able to lock it away with that hog.
Perfect use of that relic. We were questioning whether or not it would pay off in the later stages of the game, but this one Gold Fury alone, because that secured it, could be the definitive answer of yes, it's worth it. And now NRG with a slightly bigger goal lead heading past that 3,000 mark.
He utilized it earlier as well when NRG secured the Portal Demon just to ensure that Elevate wouldn't have any sort of contest, and that is kind of just one of the upsides of the hog early on. You have these objective pressure points where the enemy team can't really look to try and fight into you as much, knowing that you're going to be able to secure it without having to expend any big ultimates, or when your ultimates are already used.
It also helps the fact that there's a level 17 Hu Yi on the side of NRG, you know, compared to a level 15 Jermaine on this ROM, sitting with Rage, trying to get that fully evolved here, trying to... Do you expect to see Poison Star or Wind Demon here for Emilito?
He could go either way. Probably the Poison Star just to help out his team even more. What better way than to add more slows on top of Adapting on this Nemesis? Haven't seen any Wing Blades yet either from Elevate, but what I'm really looking at is that ward buying from NRG. There were 5 sentries bought, and already 2 of them have been placed, 3 still being held, and 3 regular wards on top of that. Everybody is warding.
Everyone is definitely warding on both sides, except for Emilito, the typical hunter that doesn't really want to ward it. Because of how far behind Jermaine got in the early stages, he was forced into a position where he had to drop more gold on the safety net that the wards can provide. And he's also going for a slightly different option of a build here, not going for any sort of crit, rushing chin size after this executioner.
I would expect that to be a chin size whenever he does complete it. A little bit more expensive than what he probably would have wanted to be, but it is going to give him the damage that he has been dying for pretty much. NRG is just so tanky right now, and when you're behind as a hunter, especially a late game hunter at that, things can get incredibly rough.
But if you look at the itemization here from NRG, there's not that much health in their build. There's Height of Urchin here for Maniac and then his Vamp Shroud. You're looking at the Nemesis who went Stone Cutting Sword. A lot of aggression from Cherio, trying to take advantage of Emilito, force his sons on top of himself, but it's not enough to save his life.
And that is a massive kill, actually, coming for Jermaine, able to secure that bounty off onto Emilito, but the fight's not over. Jesse at NRG was trying to secure this portal team, and now it's Death Panther getting aggressed onto by Adapting. Meanwhile, on the backside, Maniac just throwing Dardas away from everybody.
Death Panther dropping the drums, but it's secured. Elevate walk away with a stolen objective. NRG, we're not expecting that one. Maniac's ultimate also, before Death Panther's ultimate, was a little questionable there. He tried to zone, I think it was no numbers away from the action, but the rest of his team didn't capitalize.
He threw Dardas away because it was Dardas trying to jump in and get off his tail whip, because on Sobek, one of the best ways to push everybody away from an objective is just to run in there and to it. And that was a solid mindset behind Dardas, although I would have to agree, I think Maniac was a little bit too preemptive on wanting to drop that ultimate off onto the Sobek. Probably would have been better off just looking to go and harass Death Panther.
Trying to force Purification Beads or Aegises, trying to get this mage out of a team fight to allow Adapting to clean up later on. But now it's almost 23 minutes into the game. Elevate, what are they doing? They're baiting Maniac into the Fire Giant pit. Fear No Evil not on the mark.
That hurts to see, but they might still be able to find the kill, and he does. Cherio locking away Maniac even after the Fear No Evil came up short. Raffer, though, aggressing with the sprint. Adapting's ultimate is off onto Cherio. Everybody's just trying to get away now.
The Blink Dardas was not enough. It was on the mark, and his Dardas is still trying to look for a pluck onto Raffer. His underhanded tactics is not available. Emilito is going to jump away while his support is forced to go to the Draconic form. Death Panther is going to try to capitalize, keeping him in the Suns, though.
And that was a beautiful ultimate from Death Panther. Meanwhile, Dardas is getting aggressed onto pretty heavily by Yaman, but Yaman forced out into 1 HP. The Disaperate might buy him enough time, except there's going to be no numbers chasing him into that T2 tower, using the Purification Beads to avoid any sort of slow.
A 2 for nothing, but a lot of members from Elevate are very low. Adapting, buying some time with that Nemesis Shield speed buff will be stripped away from NRG, but I think NRG are thanking themselves that they bought enough time now for Maniac to respawn, and because of everyone being so low from Elevate. What is this? Is this Season 3 now? A teleport in a solo lane? Maniac going back into his roots.
And it's not a very common pickup, but it certainly came in handy just then for NRG. I believe the mentality behind this Xing 10 was to get an early upgrade potentially off of this teleport. Look for the TP into the back line with those wards, which is also another reason why you might be seeing such heavy ward coverage. Opting to TP to your T1 tower, though, when the enemy team is so close to Fire Giant, always a solid choice.
Well, Elevate were too low to try to start the Fire Jump, but they went back to heal and starting up this gold here because Yaman was still dead once they started it. Secured the objective, pulling Raffer for a little bit more damage with Chinsai's Executioner's complete. Raffer's just going to get melted if he gets plucked again.
And speaking of melted, Death Panther, he's got to be careful having to TP away from that fight. A lot of grouping coming out now from NRG in the mid lane. Could be this T1 tower they have their eyes set on.
It's 24, almost 25 minutes into the game. This game is basically dead even. NRG did have a 3,000 gold lead earlier on, but now slightly faltering as the gold tier was secured by Elevate. And this is not something that we're used to seeing out of NRG. Once they get a lead, they usually run away with it, but it seems to me that they're still getting away with their slow early early split jitters.
Elevate, for me, that was a primary example of down but not out. And NRG, although it looked like they were about to start boosting their lead even further after locking away that Gold Fury, it just came through. All the pieces fell together for Elevate. Cherio gets an excellent gank off onto Emilito, forces out the Hunter's actives, and manages to pick up the kill with Jermaine. And then on top of that, Death Panther stealing away the Portal Demon really just caught everybody on NRG so off guard and allowing everybody from NRG to still be so focused around the Portal Demon while Jermaine's just split pushing away in that dual lane side it just brought that gold lead a little bit closer.
You could tell Death Panther is definitely focused on the late game with his build. He went for Warlock Sash for trying to be more survivable, and then he went for the Obsidian Shard as opposed to the Spear of the Magus or the Spear of Desolation, trying to go for that 33% magical penetration. But as Raijin, wouldn't you rather get Spear of the Magus trying to stack with the Raijus?
Well, the two members that have been in Elevate's face the most has been Adapting, Xingtian, and the Fafnir. So keeping those three gods in mind, well, Adapting is playing Nemesis, but either way, keeping those three gods in mind, and they're going to be the ones absorbing all of the damage, or at least the brunt of it. So you want to be able to shred through them as quickly as possible, which is why we see Jermaine opting for this pen-oriented build as well, and it's been working out pretty efficiently for him so far.
As long as they're focusing the objectives that have the protections and they have all this penetration, more success for Elevate as they're still grouping up around the mid into the Fire Giant. This is the time when all the teams are going to be grouped up on the right-hand side of the map. Portal Demon has respawned as well. Elevate looking to control some of the sentry vision.
Dardas just has to be careful with, if he chooses to pluck somebody, he's got to make sure he doesn't die immediately after. That is one thing that Soba can fall victim to, especially against a Nemesis composition, is when you get that pluck off, you're no longer safe except for maybe half a second when that immunity frame happens.
But Dardas has no fear. He's willing to go in for the pluck anytime. He's even willing to expend a blink trying to go for it. He even used it in the mid lane, forcing Yaman to take a lot of damage. The Aegis was used trying to negate some of that damage. Lurking in the water is on cooldown, but Yaman's Aegis not available to him. That means Cherio could look to blink and follow up.
And neither is Raffer Sprint, also using that active to make sure that Yaman could get away safely from any follow-up damage from Dardas. Elevate immediately looking to siege this Portal Demon. That is the right call.
It's just a bait here. Maniac is going to blink in, find the knockup onto Jermaine. Furious Roar to follow up. Death Bear is using that ultimate very early in this engagement, but it's actually Jermaine forced to roll away, going into the sky, trying to see if he can pick off anybody, but nobody's really that low. Yaman gets hit by all three, however.
And Jermaine is trying to turn around to Maniac, who aggressed just a little bit too deep, trying to ult Jermaine, lock away that kill, but unfortunately for him, it's going to be his life instead. And now Raffer looking to be the next target for Elevate, but everybody from NRG would much rather just back off. Jermaine has lifesteal, and it looks like Elevate might have the Portal Demon.
It seems that way. NRG with only 4 members have to concede this objective. The question is, are they going to concede the Fire Giant? They still need 30 seconds for that front line tank to come in and buffer a lot of that damage, and that was a huge disconnect here. The new soul laner Maniac just too far overextended for NRG.
Well, Maniac's an aggressive player. He loves jumping into that backline. He got the blink on the Xingtian purely for that aspect, especially since he wants to cause as much chaos as possible. Raffer, however, getting plucked by Dardas. Nowhere left to go. Dardas actually securing the kill after he started it off.
We talked about the control coming out of Elevate before the game started. Knockup from No Numbers, pluck into the knockup from Dardas, and more damage to follow up with the cripple from Jermaine's rollout. Fire Giant going the way of Elevate. They were once behind. They're now ahead. They're going to start sieging some towers.
And Jermaine actually opting to pick up that Titan's Bane. A lot of people will be kind of upset, but it's an old story now. Titan's Bane with Executioner, not always the wrong way to go because of the fact that Titan's Bane gives you that tower shred that you desperately need.
Doing about 168 damage per hit and having the attack speed between his second ability. No Shogun's Kusari on the side of Elevate, so it doesn't really even need it when you have that much from Arama second ability.
No, Elevate instead opting to build a couple of Wing Blades now, better late than never, and it's been working out very efficiently for Cherio and No Numbers. No Numbers at first was just getting ulted off cooldown, but now Adapting has to try and target focus a little bit better. Doesn't seem to be making too much of a difference though, as Elevate just wanting to play it as safe as possible, take everything off the map first before looking to siege those Phoenixes.
No more towers remain for NRG. Gold Fury now taken as well. Elevate with a commanding 10,000 gold lead heading into the 30-minute mark. And if anyone has voted for Elevate for at least one game here, they're going to be feeling really smart right about now.
What I'm looking for, or more concerned about, is will this be Elevate finally coming through with the 2-0? We've seen them split before with these big name teams so many times. It's just, it's their calling card, realistically. And this game isn't over just yet. NRG, we've seen them bounce back as well, so we can't quite count out this EU Titan yet.
I have to absolutely agree with you here, Taco. We're looking at the late game Ho Yi, late game Sol, almost level 20 on Yaman, and that's the damage that they need. It's not a situation where NRG are behind gold and experience, only on the gold category, so they have the abilities necessary to keep these Phoenixes alive as long as they don't overextend too much like they did previously.
One other thing too is that Adapting has this AA base build for the Nemesis. When you pick up a stone cutting sword and an executioner, probably a chin size following that, you're really looking to stick close to your target, but Elevate are not permitting Adapting to do any of that.
Slow and steady is the game for Elevate as they start the siege on the left side. NRG still trying to figure out the right angle to come through. Adapting is going to hold on to the middle, expecting probably a one-on-one between these two junglers. We could see a very aggressive blink engage by either Cherio or Dardas, honestly. It doesn't matter which.
It's probably going to be Cherio looking to blink engage initially, waiting for the right amount of grouping from NRG, force out as many actives as possible, and just cause so much chaos with that Fear No Evil.
We're seeing a nice ultimate from Maniac. It forced out the beads earlier on, but it's just not enough to really stop this Phoenix siege. We're seeing Raffer disarm a few members, Jermaine specifically, going to stall him out. Phoenix at about a little less than half health. No one from NRG are overextending. They're still so patient.
They have to be patient. Raffer is just getting destroyed by these in-hands from Jermaine, and Jermaine able to lock away the first Phoenix on the left-hand side. Now Death Panther going up into the ultimate, trying to find the kill. Jermaine actually cleaning that one up, and everybody else from NRG trying to collapse, but so far it's to no use.
It's actually Cherio that secured the middle Phoenix at the same time. He wasn't even in that team fight. Elevate, they found a pick in a 4-on-5. NRG should have had that fight, but they lose the fight, they lose left Phoenix, now they lose mid Phoenix, and soon to follow will be that last one on the right-hand side.
Elevate just prioritize the Phoenix, and that is exactly what you want your Hunter to do every single time. Even Death Panther was just trying to whack away on that left-hand side Phoenix, and when NRG decided to engage, it was already too late for their mid lane Phoenix. All 5 ultimates being expended on both sides, and the only member to die out of that was Raffer.
They almost killed Jermaine, to be fair. They did force out his relics very early in that engagement, but no one else could really capitalize off of it because of how low Raffer was. That's the one issue with a Fafnir is once you transform into the dragon, you're a sitting duck, and Death Panther immediately went into the drums and threw all 4 out of them, keeping Raffer in place, finding a very clean pick.
Oh, that's also just the downside of opting to pick up a Hog so early on. We're starting to see the repercussions for it later on in the game. 33 minutes and climbing. Hog doesn't really have too much use to you now. Your team should be securing the objectives based off of their own damage, and so having the Hog, sure, it still gives them a possibility to look to steal away a Portal Demon or even a Fire Giant potentially. It's just not enough, however, where a Shell could possibly impact this.
I was going to mention Shell because there's none in this game. All 10 relic slots and not a single Shell to be called upon. And that alone could have been the issue to save him. But Yaman taking a lot of damage. He's going to go into the Disapparate, trying to run away as well as his dual lane buddy, Emilito. But no numbers is not going to let him off the hook quite yet. Yaman trying to peel for himself with that Supernova. Maniac going to get clipped by that lurking in the water. And that's another clean pick for Elevate. They're going to continue on in a 5-on-4.
Everybody from NRG was so busy trying to protect Yaman that they completely ignored Maniac on the backside, just getting shredded away. And now they all had to back off. They lost Maniac in the process, and now they're going to lose the Fire Giant yet again.
But more importantly, they keep their hyper carries alive. Yaman and Emilito survive for the time being, and their damage is enough to maybe find a kill onto Cherio or Jermaine. And without Jermaine's damage on Phoenixes, on Titans, it makes it almost impossible for Elevate to try to get these objectives.
Fortunately enough for NRG, Elevate did want to back and just refresh everything, pick up a couple of pots that might might have been missing, upgrade some relics if they really needed to. And for Elevate, I don't really blame them for having the double sprint.
10 seconds remain on Maniac on the right. With left side, Yaman is trying to push it out as far as possible. This leaves the right side Phoenix exposed. Jermaine doing more than 200 damage per hit on that Phoenix. All three stripped away from NRG. The Titan is now being looked at. Cherio, I think he wants to try to go in here.
And it's going to be a full commit from Elevate onto this Titan. Absolutely no chance whatsoever. Cherio loving the placement of that Fear No Evil right on top.